Hello, everybody. Welcome to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I am your host, Lindsay, and my co-host here, Nick. Say hi, Nick.
Hello, how's it going?
Today we are going to be discussing Big Brother Cheesecake Allstars, and we have our lovely guest here, Dylan, the most recent evictee from the Big Brother Allstars house. Dylan, what happened?
So
Tell us what happened.
a lot of things happened this week. Firstly, I don't really. I'm not too upset about my eviction, and the main reason why was that this was the week for me to lose because I did have a really good opportunity to save myself. Not necessarily with the vote, but with the veto. But we can talk more about that later. But ultimately, what happened was that I had heard through the grapevine that Jonathan was basically saying that I lied about my vote for the HOH. So I confronted him. He didn't like that I confronted him. He put me on the block. And I think he was going to do it regardless, just from the things that he said to me in private messages. Uh, but no, ultimately, it just was he wasted a week on me. And that's it.
What kind of things did he say in private messages?
So I actually would love to go through everything that we said in our messages because he was trying to make it sound like I was evil and like I was aggressive and I like. So I had heard from Chanel that he was there. So the HOH was we had to vote for one person to be head of household, and
Mhm.
you know me, I haven't. I've been trying to keep to myself more than anything. So I had heard Rhonda wanted to be head of household, and I had heard Jonathan wanted to be head of household. I was naturally closer to Rhonda, so I thought the vote was going to her. But then halfway through the round, everyone started saying, okay, vote for Jonathan instead. At least all the people that I was aligned with were saying vote for Jonathan. So I voted for Jonathan to win. After the head of household competition, then it was all about who voted for Rhonda and who didn't vote for Jonathan. That's who's going to be the target for the week. So
Right.
Jonathan was trying to be Sherlock Holmes or whatever the fuck, and was trying to figure out who didn't vote for him. And people were trying to figure out whether I didn't or Kat didn't. That was like the two main people. And I was like, bro, I don't fucking know. For all I know, one of your own people could have thrown a vote. Like, why do you care? And immediately I told him this is when I sent my vote in. I was the last person to send my vote in. I voted for you solely because my allies told me to. And I'm not going to say the names on here, but I gave him names of who told me vote for Jonathan. And I had saved him in the vote for eviction the week before that. So I was like, I'm fine with Jonathan winning head of household. I don't really have a problem with it. So he accepted what I said to him and he moved on. To be honest, I don't know why he was asking for timestamps because Andrew doesn't give you an update on the vote by time. So I already thought that was pretty weird. So then, as nominations were coming up, I had been getting messages from a couple of people saying that, "Hey, did you vote for Jonathan? Did you vote for Jonathan?" And I was like, "Okay, this is not a good sign because they're already pointing the finger at me." And honestly, I wasn't really in a position to lie to anybody because I didn't really care. If I voted for Rhonda, I would have just said I voted for Rhonda. I didn't am I really the type of person that gives a fuck? No, I've shown that in both of my seasons. So I thought it was really weird that people were questioning me of all people. So then Chanel messaged me saying that Jonathan thinks that you were the one that voted for Rhonda, and he's saying that you lied to him, that you lied basically. And if there's one thing I hate, it's number one being called a liar because I'm anything but. But number two, I hate when people accuse me of things I didn't do. That's probably my biggest pet peeve, and it's the number one thing that can spark my aggressiveness, I guess. So the way that I handle situations like that is I confront people on it. I don't, just let it stir in the background and wait for it to come back and let them hold ill feelings to me because I had a feeling that this could have led to my nomination. So I immediately confronted him and I was like, hey, I heard that you think I'm a liar. I'm not a liar. And I don't know what my exact words to him were, but I was like, it was like, I heard you called me a liar. I'm not a fucking liar. So I waited for him to respond to me because he read my message immediately. I saw his little Facebook, little fucking face. So I was like, okay, he's going to respond. He starts typing and he stops typing. He starts typing, he stops typing. So in my head, I'm like, okay, he's trying to figure out what to say to me
Okay.
because he would be
Yeah.
typing. He wouldn't be typing and untyping for no reason. So he does this for like 5 minutes or so, and I'm waiting for a response. So I'm just like, fuck it. And I send him like an entire message saying, look, I know that you think I'm a liar. I heard it through the grapevine. I'm telling you right now, I have no reason to lie to you. Don't put me on the block for no reason. If you want to put me up, just say so. But don't try calling me a liar. Because ultimately,
Okay.
that's what he was trying to do. Was he was trying to find a reason to put me on the block. I truly believe that. Um,
Do you
so
think that
finally,
he was trying to do that no matter what, or he honestly thinks that you were one of those
I
four
think he was going
people,
to do it no matter what. And the reason why I think
so
that
he
is
had
because
to,
of what
okay.
he said to me afterwards. So he finally does respond to me after like 20 minutes or so. And I'm pretty sure what he was doing was he was messaging other people trying to figure out what to say to me. So he said, I actually was messaging my sister because her daughter got corona or something like that. And I was like, look, if you were messaging your sister and you were on the phone with her or whatever, you wouldn't have been looking at my messages, typing, then untyping, typing, then untyping. If he had just left me on red, that would have been a different story. Or if he hadn't read my messages at all. But I don't know. Maybe this did happen, but I don't believe it. So after that, we get into a confrontation. And he basically
Mhm.
says to me, you're being aggressive right now. You're being angry right now. I don't remember the entire conversation. I would need to look back at it. But I know for me, all I was saying to him, I was saying it very calmly. I wasn't all capping it. I was just like, you if you have a problem, just talk to me and I would have explained to you this is why
Hmm.
you're wrong. I didn't do this and we could have talked this out. Please don't talk behind my back. So at some point in the
Do you think
conversation,
though that maybe the way that you spoke could have, like, if you had changed your approach to how you confronted him, maybe that could have changed the outcome?
and see, I did think about that. I think the only place where I went wrong was the first thing I said to him was, I heard you called me a liar. And I shouldn't have said it like that. What I should have said to him, see, and I didn't know what kind of player he was. I didn't know if he would be like, ugh, you're aggressive for saying that. But what I probably should have said to him was, hey, just letting you know, I really did vote for you. I heard that you didn't believe me. That's the
Yeah.
only place where I thought I went
Yeah.
wrong. But I looked at my messages after he called me aggressive and I was like, was I being aggressive? I wasn't. I really wasn't. I was just asking him questions. And he was backtracking with me and like accusing me of things and saying, you did this when I really didn't do that. And I was just like, okay, give me an example. And he was like, you're being aggressive. I'm not even going to bother continuing this conversation with you. And
So you
then,
think maybe the trap was already set, and at that point it was like, oh, good, I got my reason. I don't need to string him along anymore. I'm just going to
yes.
nominate him.
And that was
Okay.
why I blew up in the house chat because I felt like he was gaslighting me and he was baiting me to be aggressive or to blow up on him because he probably he said to me he watched my other season, so he
Hmm.
probably knew he could get me to react, especially seeing me and Ryan have an argument as well, which also was a strategy, by the way, which I can talk about later. But
Well,
just to
let
wrap
me
up,
ask you
yeah,
this.
uh huh,
You think that like your character, or at least what people think of you, came across as pretty apparent in your previous seasons, or maybe leading into this season. Do you
hmm
think maybe, I mean, I don't want to compare it to this too much, but like kind of like how Chad, he knows his perception going into it.
hmm
He's playing in this, some would call maybe fake or phony way, but he's kind
hmm
of like playing it up. Like, do you think you could have just strategically not fallen for these traps and kind of outsmarted? And do you think it would have, do you think there's anything you could have done differently to make you not be a nominee?
to be honest with you, I really don't think it mattered. I think that
Oh,
if I wouldn't have blown up at him, he still would have put me on the block because he would have been like, I think you're the liar. I think the only
okay.
thing that might have changed is he might have put me up with Chad instead of putting me up with Chanel. But
Gotcha.
I can't even guarantee that because this is where it actually gets interesting. And this is where I know for a fact he was trying to bait me. He sent me this long essay saying, I know your org history, your online reality game history. I know how you are in other games, and I know who you are. And I was like, how the fuck do you know who I am? So I think that he has done research on me. He's done research on other players, and I actually believe this because there's some people in this game that reached out to me over a year before this All Star cast even
Hmm.
fucking got assembled. So I do believe he did research on me. And I think the reason why he put me and Chanel on the block with each other is because he knows me and Chanel are close. They're looking at other games. So
Okay. So I have a question less related to the fact that you got nominated, but what happened after. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of background here because I get called aggressive all the time. Aggressive and abrasive are two of the most common words to describe me.
Yeah.
And often I'm going back and looking at conversations or replaying them in my head and wondering, like, what the hell could I have done differently because I thought I was just expressing myself. So just to like say that so that you know, like, I'm coming at this from I can really empathize with the kind of picture that's been painted of you. Do you think that you did enough once you were nominated to try and convince other people? Like, forget being in the main group chat, the blow up, the being baited and everything like that. Like, could you have tried to paint yourself in a different picture in different alliances or one-on-one chats, do you think?
Ultimately, I think what happened was that I went into the season with a lot of people wanting me to play solely because of that Facebook Live I did in my season. I had, as I said in my live stream, I had Nicole in my messages practically begging me to sign up for the season. And she said, me, you, and Brazil, we can final three this. And I had talked with Brazil, and I thought Brazil was really chill. So I was like, okay, they should have my back on this vote. There's other people in the game as well that I had a connection with. I'm not going to throw them under the bus. So I had played the votes out in my head about who would keep me. And ultimately, when it came to this eviction, if people like Nicole and people like Brazil didn't have other connections to the reality realness people, like I said, I do believe that Chantel, Jojo, Jonathan, Nicole, and Brazil are together, and I think they have Curtis as a number two because Brazil told me the first week that she gave Curtis the HOH because they're very tight. I don't remember 100% if she did tell me they have a real life relationship because it was so many weeks ago, but I know that those two are close too. So I think what happened was that some people knew keeping me was a benefit to their game, but they didn't want to piss Jonathan off because another thing Jonathan did, which I actually think is really funny and why I think it's ridiculous, he tried calling me aggressive. He was threatening people in his alliance chat saying, if you don't vote to evict Dylan, I'm coming for you and you're going home next week.
How do you know that? And how could he make that happen if he's not HOH next week because he can't play?
That's what I said. Nicole told me this when I was talking with her. I was like, "Hey, you have my back for this eviction, right?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know. My alliance is like pretty sure you need to go." And I was like, "Your alliance?"
So they were trying to tell you like their hands were tied. They can't possibly vote for you no matter what, kind of thing.
And see, no, your hands shouldn't be tied. And this is my point when I made that video. If I'm really your ally, if you really have my back and you want to keep me in the game, it's all about, hey, I'm going to put my game on the line for you. You're going to put your game on the line for me. And ultimately, as much as Nicole and Brazil can say they love me and they had my back, whatever, you weren't willing when the chips were down and the time came, you weren't willing to have my back. And this week, if they were willing to vote to keep me, I would have had the votes to stay.
Do you think so? Like those two specifically, or just you needed two because you had a locked, guaranteed votes to stay?
Four. I had four people that were going to keep me this week. And after I found out those two weren't going to keep me, I was like, you guys can just vote to evict me. I'm not going to say
so it would have
been
6-4.
It would have been 6-4.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you try Okay, so barring those two votes you thought you needed, were there any other of the other votes you think you could have gotten, or did you try with those other votes, or did you just kind of give up and once those two were the two you didn't get or you felt you weren't getting, you kind of did you do everything you could?
I did try, and
Okay.
really, I'm not the kind of player to be fake, and I hate when people. Excuse me, hold on, I got. Excuse me.
Nice.
I hate the kind of
Subway.
players that don't talk to you at all until they need something. Jonathan was one of those players. He only messaged me when he needed my vote to keep him, and there were a couple people that I just didn't connect with. Like I didn't really connect with Etan. Who else didn't I really? Oh, really? It's only Etan that I can think of. Everyone else I had some kind of conversation with, but ultimately, when I heard about season 3 being like, okay, we need to send him home, I knew Chantel and JoJo were kind of pointless. And I had tried talking with Chantel about that situation with Jonathan, and I was just like, this is a waste of time. Like, I need to be focusing on the people that are going to keep me. Ultimately, there wasn't really anybody outside of those 6 that would have kept me, and I did try. Like, I tried with Curtis, but Curtis told me, "Look, me and Joanne has been tight with me since like the beginning, and she's been a good ally of mine. I can't vote to evict her. I hope you come back, but that's just is what it is." And ultimately, uh, I felt like I wasn't in a position to ask people for anything. So what I did instead was I had my allies that did have good connections with other people try to get to save me. That was what ultimately was my best move at that point.
Okay. So you're kind of you're lumping if you got Brazil Nicole or Chantel JoJo, you're kind of lumping people together. Do you think that this season is going in a way where the individual doesn't matter, and no matter what you as an individual say to one other individual, it will have no effect unless everyone is on board? Because
Yeah,
we all know this game eventually turns from that group or the pairs mentality into you have to look out for yourself when it comes down to one or two votes per week. Like, do you not think that you could have maybe swayed one or two more, even if those two weren't aligned? You don't think that?
no, and this is the reason
Okay.
why. I think that this season is going in. It was going to go not after this week, but it was going to go in the same route as Big Brother 22. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people came into this game with not just real life friendships or online friendships, but friendships they've had for like 2, 3 years. And ultimately, they're not going to betray someone that they've been friends with for X amount of years. Really, the only person that I came into this game with a real connection was probably Chanel. And me and Chanel
Mm,
didn't start talking again after our 2 year season until like very recently, like a month or two ago. Uh, and I think this group is the kind of group that doesn't want to show their hand. And
okay.
specifically with that last HOH, it confirmed it to me, which I'll tell you
It's
all
still pretty
about.
early, to be fair.
Well,
Yeah.
that's it too. It's too early for people to want to do something. Like that's why I was like, I'm probably not gonna stay because it's just so early. Nobody wants to stick their neck out, you know?
Do you think that this week and the way it went in your eviction had more to deal with you versus Jonathan or you against a big alliance or whatever it is? Or do you think it maybe has something to do with Joanne and her solid game that were you sitting next to other people? You mentioned Chad, but do you think that is because you were next to Joanne? Or do you think that other people could have survived the block versus other people as well?
Oh, I would have survived if Chad was on the block with me. Like,
Okay.
Jonathan completely showed his ass this week because literally Chad made a whole group chat that was dead set on getting out the reality realness
Fair.
people. And he completely showed his hand by not putting Chad on the block and gunning for me and Chanel. So if he had put Chad on the block, I would have been good. People weren't gonna because people don't like Chad, but he was very smart putting Joanne on the block with me
Okay.
because Joanne right now she's the nice old lady. No, like what I believe Joanne is doing is the same thing she did in our season, where she has little connections to people, and
Hmm.
ultimately I felt like this week wasn't about saving Joanne or even evicting me. It was about proving loyalty to Jonathan.
Okay.
Mm.
I want
So
to.
you mentioned, oh, sorry, Nick.
No, you go
Uh,
ahead.
I was just going to say, just to change tracks a little bit, you mentioned that your fight with Ryan had been a tactic. I don't know if you meant that it was
Mm-hmm.
staged uh,
Good.
or
Yeah,
that you
It
like
wasn't
purposely went
staged.
after him, but would you be able to elaborate on that?
Yeah, my strategy when I come into games is I want people to know where my cards are, and I want them to I'm a very straight shooter kind of player, and I felt like the first week I kind of blended in the background just because I already had these people that wanted to work with me, so I was like I don't want to spread myself out too thin. So after I survived that first week, and there was a plan to potentially get me out, which I was able to stay because of my connections with other people, but I heard that Ryan was the main one, and Ryan was a target to a lot of people. So I knew if I had a fight with him and people knew I was coming for him, more people would want to keep me around
gotcha.
because they would know where
Oh,
my
okay.
they would know where my crosshairs were. And Ryan messaged me afterwards. He was like, "I'm not even after you." I was like, "I already know you're not fucking coming for me." I could have told Ryan he was the ugliest motherfucker on the world. I fucking hate you. Like, I could have said the most vile shit to him. He wasn't gonna target me because I wasn't worth being targeted.
Mm.
But it was
Okay.
strategic because I wanted people to know where my cards were.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because I think that you and Ryan play fairly similar games from the outside looking in. So you may have actually been able to work quite well with him if you
Mhm.
guys were
I
able to stay
would've.
in a bit longer.
Oh, I would have kept him around. He wasn't a target of mine.
Mm. So I want to shift it to you talk about if Jonathan hadn't done this or if these votes would have aligned. Let's talk about things that you maybe could have done more yourself this week.
Hmm.
The veto competition came. It was a live comp.
Yes.
Got to see Andrew's apparent frustration with
Mhm.
another comp to go in the
Yeah.
way
Oh,
that it
Andrew.
sometimes does. It was still fun. It was still fun to watch. Like just seeing his reactions was actually pretty exciting. But
Yeah.
just something that caught me off guard as someone who's such a fan of this. You talk about how you host these kinds of games. I do too. You've played in seasons of these. I do too. Like you got to know like when Andrew gives the rules for competitions, you can already start thinking, okay, especially when you're on the block, I can start thinking
Hmm.
about how to crush this and get my revenge and stay this week. And
And I did.
in
Also,
11th
I'm gonna
hour
tell you what
competition
happened.
begins and you don't fully know the rules. You have no words picked
Oh,
up
I was
yet. It
looking.
seemed like it was a bit of a
I
mess.
understood the rules of Scrabble. I
Okay,
wanted
but
to. What I wanted was if I didn't win, I wanted people to think that I wouldn't be good at these competitions. But I did have a strategy. My strategy
okay.
was I had a set list of words for each round, so that I had a median of around like 10 to 12 letters.
Yeah, that's good.
And honestly, the veto competition is why I say I deserve to go home. Because if I had because I went into that veto comp, the only person that could not win was Jonathan. Because if
Right.
Jonathan won, me and Chanel were staying on the block. If anybody but Chanel or Jonathan had won that veto, I would have been taken off the block. Everyone else had promised
So
me they would give me
remind
the
me
money.
again, there was Joanne was
Rhonda,
playing.
Joanne, Kat, and then myself. Those four would
Wait,
have.
didn't you get a pick as well for this veto?
I did. I picked Rhonda, and
Right.
Okay.
that's why I say I deserve to go home this week because I had a 4 out of 6 chance to be safe.
Right.
And if I had trusted my gut, the first round I was going to do Duck, and Duck would have gotten me 12, and Jonathan would have been first out. If that would have
Mm-hmm.
happened, Chanel would have thrown that veto because Chanel knew that she wasn't going to go home. Because um, if I would have been taken down, Jonathan would have had to change his target because people were not going to boot Chanel. Chanel's a winner, and there's other winners in that house that are in control that don't want to boot a winner just because they'll be obvious targets. That would be 2 winners out in 4 weeks. So Chanel probably would have thrown that competition at that point to make
Okay.
sure I was vetoed. Really, all that mattered was me getting vetoed. And if I had just trusted my gut and stayed a course and not changed anything, I would have put Duck that first round. Jonathan would have been first out, and more than likely I would have been vetoed. That's why I don't really regret anything I did socially or strategically because that veto competition was ultimately it was mine to lose, and I lost. So
Okay. Well, I mean, I'll admit you had me fooled. I didn't know you had that strategy or you wanted to appear weak, kind of like how Devon did in All Stars this past
mhm,
time. Like she wanted to look like even if she is in danger, she can't ever possibly save herself, so why waste a week on you, etc. So it just didn't go
exactly.
the right way. Okay, that's good. Respect on that. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
So,
you had us all
okay.
fooled.
So let's talk about hypothetical here. Now, if why not? Why didn't Chantel just use it on you and see what happens if she was so safe? And did you have that conversation with her?
Chanel.
I
Did
did,
I?
but
Oh, sorry, Chanel.
I was like
There's a lot of
Chanel.
C names this week or this
I
season.
was like, Chanel, I would never ask you to do that. And I think if she had won the veto and then used it on me, people might have gotten rid of her. Just
Okay,
because,
that's
like,
fair.
wow,
Um,
you felt that safe that you would save Dylan over you, and we did talk about it. But I was like, I would never ask her to do that.
Gotcha.
yeah.
You know, it's just unfortunate. And I think that if Jonathan wasn't in that top two, I think she would have thrown it to Rhonda, Joanne, whoever the fuck.
Mm,
Like,
Who do you think? I mean, you don't have to say because you're still technically in the game, and you might come back. Like
Yeah.
you can share this if you want. Who do you think would have been the replacement nominee, or who would you have liked to see? Or actually, no, don't answer that second one. That might be too revealing. Who do you think it might have been?
Well, I do have an answer for who I would have loved to have seen.
Okay.
I'll give you one for each. I There's two possibilities. If he wanted to get Chanel out, he would have put up Joanne or Rhonda, and I still don't think that Chanel would have went home. If And then if he wanted to change his target, he would have put Chad on. He would have put Chad on the block, and I think he would
Okay.
have done Chad just because they wanted me or Chad out. So what I would have loved to have seen, obviously, I would have loved to seen like a reality realness person go on the block, but obviously that wasn't going to happen. Um,
Okay.
Mm. Okay.
Uh, one other thing you mentioned, because I did watch your video you posted, like filmed in your car. You said
yeah.
how a bunch of people had your back. You felt like you were very much in a big alliance, or in at least within multiple alliances. And
Mhm.
Jonathan went rogue, I think were the words you used. How do you think he went rogue, and what should have been this week? What do you feel, if you're comfortable sharing that?
I actually want to clarify that. Right now, I'm not in any sort of alliances. The only
Okay.
group chat that I'm a part of is the season 2 one that Andrew made, but I wasn't in any sort of like 3-person or 4-person. The only deal that was on the table, I'm sorry, was Nicole and Brazil's deal to me, but they never even made a group chat. It was
Hmm.
all like through, networking of talking to each other. Um, but where
Okay.
I think he went rogue was, I think that me and a couple of other people were in a position, and this is why I say it's Big Brother 22, where we were going to be used as a number, where we were going to be like one off. And I think they had a boot list in mind.
Hmm.
And I think Chad was next up on their list. But Jonathan went against that and went after
Change the
me
order.
rather than Chad. So that's where I
Gotcha.
think he went rogue. Because there was a lot of people that were upset about this week and about me being on the block. And I didn't just hear it from messages to me. I heard it through the grapevine from a couple of
Hmm.
people.
So you think you
Okay.
might have still touched the block, but you're saying against Chad, you probably would have had a much easier week. And the fact that you sat next to Charlene, or to Charlene, sorry,
Jolene.
Chanel, it's a lot of names. The fact that you sat next to Chanel right from the get-go was a clear message, and you kind
Yeah.
of that's what you were referring to. Okay.
Okay.
And that's
Now,
why
in your video, you
it's a
also
big,
talked about Redemple Temple, and you don't
yeah.
seem to have a whole lot of confidence in Redemple Temple. But I mean, nobody's won Redemple
No one's
Temple
answered a
yet.
question correctly
Yeah,
yet.
based on answering questions.
Yeah.
So,
And look, I don't think I'm gonna win it. I might beat Charlene, but I don't think I'm gonna win it because if a reality realness does get booted, I know that they've covered Andrew's show before, and there's still categories from their seasons that are left. I
Hmm.
think that once one of them gets sent to me, which I'm hoping one of them does, they'll probably beat me. Because
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest with
okay.
y'all, I don't know shit about Andrew. I don't know shit about any of these. I probably can't even remember shit about my season. It was 2 years ago. So
Well,
Well,
to be fair, I think most people on the show though aren't like super close to Andrew, so they're
mhm,
probably all going to end up in the same boat, right?
yeah. What I wish it was like, um, what week did so and so get nominated? Because then what I would do is I would study the charts because he does have the charts out there, and I would put the
Yeah.
time and I would like make sure I knew, oh, such and such was HOH this week and that week, and this was the competition that week. So, but I'm not gonna watch like 100 videos.
Well, I mean, I like you said that it watching these, it doesn't sound like that's what he's putting in his questions. And from watching these duels play out, it's been mostly around the theme or the
Mhm.
twists involved in each season that made it stand out from the others. So I don't think you need to remember who the fourth HOH was on season one, or you don't need to know those
Yeah.
things. Start like this is my advice to you and to
Mhm.
Charlene. Start. You know you're playing either Andrew Shevchik Movements or you're playing season one.
Mhm.
You can choose which that is. That's a huge leg up.
Mhm.
Keep that
Hmm.
to yourself. You can start asking, message Andrew in the DMs. He's still going to answer your messages. Start studying season one. You can go back and rewatch a lot of the key things. Remember colors of things. Like there's a lot you can equip yourself going into this. So yes, there are a few duels you and Charlene need to win, but someone is going to win it. So this is one of those
And
things where
you
you can take it on for yourself and do that.
You
Mhm.
probably only need one question because I've been watching them and I have won each round, like playing along,
Yeah.
based on winning one question.
There's been about one question or season 4. I knew a couple of them, but you can probably squeak out one
Got the
question
Chris
and.
Coop one. That was it.
Listen,
Weirdly, season 3 I actually had more of because I knew what what's his name? The guy called Krista.
Oh, Krusty, yeah,
no,
yeah,
there was
yeah.
a
I knew
guy
that too.
named
Yeah, I knew that one. And then there was one, it was the color. I was like, oh, it's ocean blue or whatever it was, like
I didn't know what
light
solve
blue,
for
I
X
guess.
meant, but I knew that seaweed tape was the safe like diving down to the
Yeah.
bottom. That's all I knew. But like, you
You know
can
what?
just I'd say study the twists and study
Yeah,
what made each season unique, not just that
yeah,
a fourth HOH was crowned. Study what makes it unique.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying I wish those were the questions because then I could
Oh,
just like study the chart. But thank you for that. I'm gonna do that because you know what? If I do not win my way back, I'm still happy because
yeah.
within the span of 2 weeks, I mean, not 2 weeks, within the span of 2 days, I made my point. Like, that they shouldn't have come for me because I blew everything up. I was getting messages all throughout the night after I posted that live stream from people either apologizing to me or rushing to explain things
Mhm.
or from people saying they're so angry right now. They're so pissed. They're trying to do damage control. And I think my video helped them not win that HOH because I think they didn't want to pick each other so that they wanted to be like, look, we're not actually together.
Mhm. So I mean, yeah, like I would agree with you. I think you definitely like your video on season 2. Not, I haven't seen that one, but I think it what's
Mm,
made you an all-star to play on this season.
I
I
think
also
so too.
think your video this season, watching it, shook up
Mm,
the season, made people rethink things, maybe scramble. Like I
it
think
did.
you deserve to be an all-star, but I think you can also win something, that something being Redemple Temple, and go in and show it and give more. Like I already talked about last episode. I filled a notebook full of notes and it was exhausting, but it did help me. It helped me.
Mhm.
And last year, last season, Reality Realness, watching them said, better take notes. And I
Mhm.
did it. And like you can take so
Yeah.
much into your own hands
Yeah.
and come out on top. And like Lindsay didn't know anything about the game. And I took crazy notes. She did too. And we got very, very far. Like it works.
The
It
funny
works.
thing
And you
is
kind of have to
we took completely opposite notes too,
very much,
which worked
yeah.
really well that the both of us were working together because
That we were, yeah,
we
so close
we took
together.
notes on completely opposite things about the game.
Hmm.
You know what? I'm finna do that. I think if I really, really try, I could win my way back into the game. And I hope I do, because I think that if I were to get back into the game, now I would have a real chance. And that's
Hmm.
why I am really disappointed that I couldn't win that veto or I didn't get saved this week, because I think the work I put in this week set me up really well to play the game further. And I felt
Yeah.
like I was just now starting to play. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it
And
is.
remember, while you're in Redemple Temple, you're still allowed to talk to people.
Oh,
You can
trust me, I will
set
be.
you can set up a nice landing pad for if you get back in that you already have that going. So like
Yeah.
you're not done yet. So
Oh no, this HOH week, y'all love it. It's
it what?
courtesy of me. This HOH week.
Yeah?
Mhm.
You're still in the house. That's good. I
Y'all
what was I
see,
gonna, oh, go ahead.
I wish I could tell y'all more. I wish I could tell you about this HOH competition and the fuckery that was going on. Um, you know
We'll
what?
talk
This is
about it
all,
soon
this
enough,
is
I'm
all
sure.
I'll say. I'll say when the final three came along and I had to eliminate somebody, Etan was like begging me to eliminate him. He was like, "I'd really appreciate it if you eliminate me," and I was like, "Well, I would have really appreciated your vote, so I'm sorry." So I didn't eliminate him. Um, he was like begging not to win HOH. I was like, "Oh my god!" But it felt
Huh.
really good that I got to be in that HOH, and
Hmm.
I hope
Yeah.
something happens this week. I hope.
Yeah.
Well,
But
you'll be
we'll
watching along just like us.
see.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions for us or anything you want to get off your chest before heading to Redemple Temple and moving on with that phase of it?
I wish I would have written something down because I remember I was like thinking to myself, I do have shit to say, but I don't even fucking remember. All I can say is that I'll talk about Chantel really quick. And I want to talk about JoJo too, that motherfucker. Oh, Isaiah. Oh my god, that's
Dylan
my
robbed.
that's my good friend. I love Isaiah.
Hi, Isaiah.
But Andrew should cast him. But I want to talk about JoJo really quick. JoJo, when I say that people were messaging me months in advance, I'm talking about him.
Okay.
Like, I had no idea who the fuck he was, and he started Facebook messaging me like a year ago, and throughout the months, he was trying to build a relationship with me. And he was like, "Look, I'm unsequestered. Look, I'm doing this. How are you?" And I'm like, "I'm fine." And he was like, "Are you going to be on All Stars?" And I was like, "I don't fucking know. Like, I didn't play. I didn't know the game was still going on." And when it came into the game, like there was nothing. There was no strategy, no nothing. So uh, I'm really curious to see who else he has connections with, because he clearly wants to win this fucking game. He put that much effort talking to me, not even knowing if I was going to be on the cast a year in advance. Chantel, what I appreciate about Chantel's game is that she has willpower I don't have, and that's to make conversation with people that are boring as fuck. I've compared notes with a couple of people, and she said the same thing to me that she said to someone else. I'm not going to say who it is, but she made me feel really good about myself. And she was like, "You're a great player. Everyone else sucks. I know you have a good strategic mind." And I was thinking in my head, she's probably just buttering me up. But it was during her HOH reign, and I hadn't talked to her before that, so I was like, "Oh, okay, we're allies now. Great. I'm not going on the block. That's fantastic."
So
But I
good
will
when
say,
HOH says that.
exactly. I thought it was so weird that she met, because I thought I was going to go on the block that week because I just hadn't talked to her. Because honestly, if I'd won the first HOH, I was going to nominate her because I knew that she was a strong player.
Right.
But I think she's someone to watch because number one, she has a lot of connections. But number two, I can assume from context clues and from other people really liking her, she's probably been buttering up a lot of people on the cast. So I hope, and on a personal side, I hope they take out Jonathan. But on a game side, they should take Chantel out because she's gonna kill this shit.
What an interesting platform you've chosen to express that opinion.
I know, and it sucks because I actually do like Chantel, and I think she's a really nice person. But I'm just stating facts, you know. I'm being
I can
real.
say, like, just personally as me as an individual, I know a lot of people playing this season, even just peripherally, or I know them well. And
Yeah.
it's a really good season of likable people. And like Lindsay
Mhm.
said in the premiere, like it's gonna be a bloodbath and everyone wants to win. So like
Because they're
at
likable, but they're type A.
at the end of the
Exactly.
day, this is a game. Everyone wants to win, and everyone will do
Mhm.
what they can to get there.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of it, there's still going to be a lot of friendships that will exist.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah, I
Lindsay
don't
and I
need.
wouldn't be filming this, talking to you right now, if we didn't make friends from our season. Like
Yeah.
it's
We
still
we've
it's just such
literally
a
met once. Everything that we've done has been through Big Brother. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's going to be stronger friendships that'll come out of this one.
yeah.
I like all of them. I don't hate any. The only one I dislike is Jonathan. And honestly, it's not even really in the game. Y'all need to hear this shit. So I was
Mm,
talking with Chanel, and she's like big in the sequester community, and she was on like an Among Us game,
yeah.
and someone invited Jonathan because he's friends with someone in there. Jonathan refused to join the Zoom because Chanel was there. And Chanel is like the sweetest person you'll ever meet. She's not confrontational. She doesn't give a fuck. So
Mm.
he made a whole thing about it and was like he refused to come in if she was there. And I was like and that's why I wish this was an on-camera game because he would have really seen how fucking aggressive I am if we were on camera. Like
Mm.
I could not like please.
Okay, well, I think this is an obvious, and I think I know the answer to this, but
Yeah.
a couple weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, whatever it is, you win Redemple Temple, you're back in the game. Do you go
Mhm.
hard for the HOH? Do you throw it? Do you start playing way more actively and getting in everyone's ear as an individual? Do you still shy
Mhm.
away from people? What do you do differently?
Now I know who I want to work with and I know who needs to be in who we need to stick together, like who So I would make sure, I'm already doing it right now, making sure the people that need to stick together. And I'm going to gun for that HOH. And I already said who my 2 nominees would be. I would put up Jonathan and Chantel, and it's no tea, no shade, no pink lemonade. But
so you'd put them up next to each other, eh?
Absolutely, yeah. And my back door would be JoJo.
Okay.
That's it.
There are no secrets here, guys.
Yeah, I know.
That's my strategy, to be up front. There you
Yeah,
go. These are my targets.
it's true. I mean, it kind of, you showed it with the fight with Ryan, or the fight with Ryan, or whatever it was. It
Mhm.
was like, you want to be transparent, and transparency is predictable, and predictability is not threatening. So
Exactly.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was awesome watching you this season.
Yes.
And it's not over yet. So unless, Lindsay, you have other questions, I think
I think we've covered a lot of ground today. So
yeah.
no, I'm good. Thank you
were
so much for
wonderful
coming
to
on the
have
show,
show.
Dylan.
Thank you for joining us. I know it's been a eventful and heavy week, but hopefully we get to talk to you again, either finale night or when you're evicted next, if you come back in. But anytime you want to chat, just let us know if you have more gossip to share.
Thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure getting to talk to y'all, and I think it's really cool that y'all are covering this org. I really enjoy it, and hopefully this season's going to be really interesting because now everyone's shit is out in the open. So yeah,
It definitely had that like moment. Like our season had it. It was kind of like I said multiple times, like, you can't use the excuse of like, oh, I'm just trying to get to know everyone. Oh, I don't know how this works. Like, no, it's fake. Everyone knows what they're doing and what's happening. It's just, it happens. So yeah, I think we're on the precipice, if not already in it. So I'm excited to keep watching that too.
All right. Well, I will head out and let you guys finish your show. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Have
Dylan.
a great night.
Nice talking
Bye,
to you.
Dylan.
That was fun.
That was so fun. I swear I wasn't going to drink on this episode, but sorry, guys. My
I've already had
alcoholism
3 of these.
continues.
I'm a nice amount of tipsy. It's good.
It was just a lot of information to take in at one time.
Yeah, but like, that's the thing. I don't necessarily need to talk about like, well, this many votes and this many facts and this is how the competition went down. I just want to talk about like more of like the temperature check on the game and the connections, because at the end of it, it's all the human connections you make with people, and like, those are the connections that carry you outside of the game after it's still over, whether those were real or not, or forced or not. And it's fun to hear how the game evolves. Like, yeah, it's good.
You're right. I mean, I was trying to pay attention during the competitions the past couple of weeks because, of course, we haven't touched base since, what is that, 3 weeks ago now? 2 weeks ago. Because we missed, So I was trying to pay attention to the competitions and who threw things to people who, like during the Press Your Luck.
That
who
was interesting, yeah.
Passing their what do you call them, the spins yeah. things like that. And I now have all these little pieces of paper with people's names on them, and I've got strings where the the black are the feuds and the white are the alliances. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
You're either a serial killer or a detective chasing a serial killer. I haven't figured out which one yet, but that's totally what you would do.
I got fed up with all of my notes. I'm looking through them and I'm like, I don't know who's working with who anymore.
That's the thing. Like, I honestly think like I said, I know people in the game. I speak a little bit to some people about what they think is happening or what they know is happening, but like, I still don't know. I'm just watching it. I don't ever initiate conversations about the game, and I just kind of sit back and watch it, because if I'm initiating, it means I'm playing, and if I'm playing, it means I am fully playing, and I don't want that anymore. I want to like enjoy. So watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I admit I've asked a couple of questions, but I will never ever give an opinion.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same way.
Because I don't want to be influencing it at all. So like, if someone tells me something about the game, and then I might ask further questions, but I'm like, I need to make sure that I don't ask leading questions, and I need to make sure that I don't like give my opinion on it.
As someone who hosts these things, and I want pure fairness across the board. If someone comes to me and says, I think this is happening, or, oh man, I think this, I'm always just like, oh, do you know that? Like, were you told this or you think this? And I just like keep the conversation going, but I'm always like, oh yeah, I heard that too. I don't say things like that. I don't want to be involved. I just want to hear it and talk to you about it. That's the main thing with it. So,
Yeah.
well,
Um,
we took some time off for Christmas. We're back now. I think it's only fair that we leave next week for next week, HOH
sure.
aside. We talk about what happened last week, and we just have
Yeah.
like our thoughts on that kind of thing. So we don't need to go into full
Okay.
detail. Let's just talk about it. So,
So what do we think about Ryan?
well, I mean, I as a person, I like Rai Rai. I
Oh,
enjoy him as a person. We worked together in our season. I always knew that I had something I needed to watch out for, and I would figure it out as I went, and I eventually learned what it was. But even when I found out that he knew about all my deepest, darkest secrets in my season, and I didn't know he knew, I still like him at the end of the day. Do we play differently? Are we different people? Yes, but we can like I can get along with all types of people.
yeah.
Anyways,
I actually really like Ryan. We've had like since our season, we've had a few conversations. I mean, not like we haven't like hung out on video chat or anything like that, but like we've connected over like our interest in charity and things like that.
mhm,
I remember Megan asking me at one point because she took an immediate dislike to his more aggressive nature. And I was
which is
like,
not an uncommon
yeah,
opinion, I will say.
but I was just like, you know what? Honestly, he tells me when he didn't trust me. He told me when he did. And I don't like having to baby him in that
Yeah, I get you.
in that you have to be careful about what you say. But
We're
I appreciated that he told me straight up. So I mean, as far as like like how it went in our season, the only reason I ended up nominating him was because he told me that I'd be on the block if he won. So
well, yeah. You had he spoon fed you his own nomination, 100%.
he really
But
did. I mean, he
yeah,
got
I
out my
know.
ally and then he told me I was next.
I know.
But this season was a little bit different in that I feel like a lot of it did come from what I just said about like they just didn't want to have to make sure that he was okay with each decision that was being made. Like, does
Hmm.
that seem
I think
uh,
he's a tough player to navigate because he gives
manage? That's the word I was looking for, to manage him.
yeah, fair. He will seek information and he knows how important information is and he will give you morsels of what he thinks you need to know. I don't think he
Yeah.
realizes that people see how transparent what you need to know is, and then they immediately turn it into mistrust. It happened to me,
Mhm.
but I'm very perceptive that way. I assume everyone else is the same way, and I think it's something that he can learn as well.
Well,
He
and he
wants to
also
be in
gave
the driver's seat, and people don't always want to be in the driver's seat. Andrew specifically likes very alpha players. He calls
yeah.
out the people who aren't being alpha players because he finds it boring. He wants alphas. Ryan's an alpha. You and I are alphas. A lot of people Andrew casts are alphas. It's gonna do this and it's gonna be fun. But I
Well, I
think
mean, the
just
thing is
it's
because he doesn't have a video if he doesn't have alpha players, right? Because he doesn't get
oh
to see
yeah.
what happens behind the scenes.
Oh, I'm not calling it out. I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
saying it's a fact. So
Yeah.
I think Ryan's thing, or maybe the All Stars this season, it's all alphas. No one can hide what kind of game they play anymore, and there was no hiding it anymore.
Yeah. I mean,
Either
he did give a very similar speech um when he what self-evicted is the term? Quit.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, self
um
evict is the
yeah,
polite term.
he gave a very similar speech in our season as to what he gave this season in that he called out the lies that he discovered were told to him and
Hmm.
assumed that they were the same lies that were being told to everybody. And I mean, he really assumed in our season that I had no idea what was going on in my HOH and told me that I shouldn't trust you because of it. Meanwhile, we were sitting there and we're like, yeah, but
What do we do this
really,
week?
you must be aware we all talk.
But I
I'm
was also
thinking that,
playing you in that way because I really wanted Curtis to say, And I
Yeah.
wanted Ryan to stay, but against the two, I wanted Curtis more. So I had to convince you that Curtis needed to stay, even but I know Curtis just nominated you and Ryan hadn't. He just said he would. So it's tricky to navigate what you want to push forward, but you have to do it in a
Yeah.
way that is still right for your allies above all else, right?
But yeah, so I just wondered if maybe there was a similar situation going on in the game right now where people just chose to leave Ryan out of certain facts rather than what he thinks that everyone's just lying to everyone.
Maybe. I don't I honestly, like I said before, when I
Yeah.
said when people come to me with things, I'll entertain it. I'll continue their thought. I won't chime in with information or I won't chime in with my
Yeah.
opinions to like it's just yeah.
Oh, I
I
mean,
don't
this is
know.
all being said based on public information. So,
Exactly. Yeah. I think
um,
um I think Chantal winning, she puts up Ryan and Kat. That can be seen as a direct move against them, a direct move against the Ruby, or a backdoor
yeah,
potential. No matter what people think it is, you can still navigate the game in a way that will hopefully make you safe when power falls into the right hands, i.e. the veto, i.e. if the Ruby
yeah,
is used or not. Like you can still play the game. And I think one thing Ryan did is immediately when he hears the nomination, he just throws everything up in the air and says, "I this is what I think it is," and then starts accusing people. And it's like you're not gonna you're not gonna inspire trust or inspire people to fight for you or to want to save you if
yeah,
if they think that you didn't trust them all along anyways. So whether it was a direct move or a sneaky play with ulterior motives, whatever it is, the season or sorry, the week can be played out in a way that is still very self-preservation, like in a self-preservating mode. I
yeah,
don't know if he played that way or not. It sounds like he came out guns blazing. He wanted to make just like whistle blow everything and want everyone to just cause chaos. And no one wants chaos around
See, I
when,
say that's
especially
the
when it's
best move.
directed at that many people.
Yeah. That's
So,
like the best move when you know that the votes are already in and there's no coming back. Like that
yeah,
then sure, I mean do what Dylan did, right? Blow everything up and make people think twice.
yeah,
But you
or like
can't do it
Brandon in our
until
season.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't do that until you actually know what the situation is and not making assumptions.
Mm-hmm. Because like even like Dylan alluded to Jonathan, like he had this perception in his mind that no matter what, Jonathan was just looking for a reason and waiting for Dylan to give him the reason for him to be nominated because no matter what he's being nominated. That might be true,
Yeah,
might not be true. I have no idea. But as soon as
couldn't
you
tell.
challenge someone on that, you it's a self-fulfilling fate or
Yeah.
prophecy in that way, and that you're kind of giving them every excuse to be like, well, thanks, made my nominations obvious, right? You can still just be like, at least he had that self-reflection to be like, hey, I probably could have went about it a different way and just been like, hey, I don't know how I can prove it to you. I did vote for you
Yeah.
to win HOH because I feel aligned to you and these people and name names and be specific. And
Yeah.
hopefully that the nominations fall in a different way. And it sounds like he came in a very defensive way. Like he was ready to like put the gloves on and fight in a defensive way. And I think Ryan had that same kind of energy in
Yeah, and I
his
mean,
week.
part
And
of me was wondering a little bit, but I felt like we had kind of talked it to death, so I left it alone at the time. But
okay.
like he was saying that people did come to him and say that Jonathan thought he was lying. Well, I feel like that would have been a really great opportunity to spend time with those people and really like talk to them and convince them that he's not lying and build like make those alliances a lot stronger.
Yeah,
Uh, and,
you can.
and I don't know, maybe he did.
Mhm.
Like I said, I just felt like we kind of talked around the topic enough to leave it alone. But
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah. I don't want to
and
be
that's
like
how maybe he could have avoided being defensive, is if he got the people behind him rallying for him instead
yep.
of doing it himself, right?
If especially if Dylan or Ryan are going to call the season, it's like massive alliance dictating everything, but you can still kind of see groups within the massive alliance. And if you're closer to some than the others, get the people that you're close to fighting for
Yeah.
you and sending those messages that will save you. So you don't always have to be the one doing it. And it just takes a few words of confidence, keeping your cool and playing calm, like because you know you've done nothing wrong or whatever. Like it can still be like that can speak volumes into your safety for the week. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
if it and Dylan even alluded to the fact of like if any of these other people would have won the veto, they would have saved me for sure. Would they have though after house meetings and potential blow ups and stuff? Like that's the thing. Like how you carry it out can it comes down to what people in power want to be associated with. And if a veto winner wants to be associated with saving a nominee who calls house, well, actually, he didn't call, Jonathan called a house meeting, but sorry, like
Yeah.
comes into a house meeting or sends public videos or makes these loud, outspoken pleas. Do you want to be associated with that? Because it's a very easy thing to get grouped up to and into and villainized against. So
However, it
if he
does
would have
make
played
for
it cool,
very
it might have
entertaining
been
watching.
easier. Sorry?
I said it does make for very entertaining watching, though. So,
Oh,
so we're not suggesting that you never do that, guys.
100%. But I think when you think you're going to get nominated or you assume you're going to get nominated when a certain person wins power, you can go one of a few ways. And
Yeah.
I think the defensive, I knew it all along, I never trusted you sort of way that
Yeah.
it sounds like Dylan and Ryan took, I don't think is the best way. And in these two specific cases, proved it was not the best way to do it.
Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to also talk about the HOH that Jonathan did win.
Hmm.
And just hear your thoughts as well on like, so there were four people who put their name forward.
I forgot to
Andrew
ask
says that
Dylan the
that seems
question. Why didn't you run? Why didn't you at least run for HOH? You would have seen who's willing to vote for you. You would have been able to
yeah.
have a platform to say, will you vote for me? Will you not? And you could get the writings on the wall right there to maybe not have voted for Jonathan. Maybe convince
Well,
more people to vote for Rhonda. He might have got a lot of like just from the campaigning for him to be HOH. He could have learned so much information.
yeah, there is that. I mean, Andrew did point out that this seems to be a theme that four people always run for this HOH,
Yeah,
which
I
did
had
happen
no
in
interest in running.
that happened in our season too. I actually was interested in running, but we decided that that like you shouldn't run against someone who's already in your house. If you recall. So like CJ had already run, and then we were also, or I don't know if you were in that chat. I was in a chat with Ryan, and Ryan decided that Kat
Musical
was
chairs.
going to run. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
You were in,
I
yeah,
voted
okay.
I voted for Kat because I also felt like I was like, okay, I don't think these people will nominate me. So that was my
Yeah,
reasoning.
I voted for Kat too. I told Ashley I voted for her, but I voted for Kat.
Oh, okay.
Because that was when we weren't 100% sure about Ashley being the mole just yet.
Yeah, true.
But anyway, sorry, digressing into our season.
Yeah, it's an interesting competition with so many layers.
Yeah.
Who runs shows a lot of information.
Well,
What they
I'm wondering if
say,
that showed different alliances because
Jonathan, Aton,
Rhonda and
Rhonda,
Joanne.
and Joanne.
Yeah.
Arguably, from the way that Ryan and Dylan painted the house, one person from Mega Alliance and
Yeah.
three from unaffiliated,
Yeah.
potentially.
And we
It
don't know
sounds
what
like
those
that.
alliances are.
So, do you think, at least the way Ryan and Dylan painted it, that it was a strategic move to only have one person run from reality realness to guarantee that all the votes didn't get split?
Yeah, that was what I was wondering. And then like I was also wondering about the pleas. Jonathan clearly put quite a bit of thought into his plea.
Hmm.
Um, Aton's was really funny. I
Oh,
enjoyed
yeah.
it, but it
Yeah.
was a lot quicker, and I wondered if he was like quite as invested
I
in
mean, you
his.
can't win HOH unless you say you're running, and you can't run without a video. So,
Yeah,
hey, why not just like make a goofy video and maybe win safety? What's the harm, right? That could have been his mentality there.
yeah,
Um,
and that makes perfect sense to me.
yeah, but Jonathan's was very clear. Vote for me and you won't be nominated. And if all people vote for me, I think it was like the
Based
last
on
people to
time.
do so will be, yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
how he would know. I don't know if Andrew would give him that information. I think he wasn't expecting everyone to vote for him in the end.
yeah.
But still,
And screenshots can't be shared, so he could never guarantee either. But
and
then, I mean,
if
he ended
we
up, didn't he nominate 2 people who did vote to keep him? Or like,
allegedly, yes,
yeah,
he
allegedly true.
said
Yeah, because people could
he said,
lie.
I respect Chad, I respect Rhonda and Joanne, I believe were the three, for
I
admitting
think
that they
that's
didn't
right.
vote
Yeah,
for me. And none
yeah,
of them touched the block. So he's going off of his hunches about that. He definitely broke his promise because he did vote, put someone up. Well, it could have maybe okay. I'll retract that. Maybe someone did vote for Aton to win because Aton got a vote, right? So
hmm
maybe they were still not all non-Jonathan voters, but it seemed like there were a group that voted for Rhonda, and then a bunch that voted for Jonathan, and one who voted for Aton. Either way, he knew of three people who didn't vote for him, and none of them touched the block. And like Dylan said, that sent a message.
yeah,
Was it
yeah.
premeditated? Was it just a campaign promise? I don't know. But I don't know if what Dylan did kind of said, okay, to Jonathan, this is what I plan to do. Oh, wait, you're going to just start attacking me. All right, you're an obvious nominee, and I want you gone now, so I'll just put up your number one ally. Sorry about it. Like, you don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Either way, it
um,
was I like that competition. It's very interesting to see who runs and their reasons for running, and then how seriously they take it with the pleas and how many votes they end up getting. Like it's Andrew likes that with Virus, with you can vote for yourself, I believe, but one vote from Jonathan.
oh,
Oh,
apparently you could
fair.
vote for
Okay.
yourself.
Okay, good. That's great information to throw in. I
Okay.
forgot Jonathan. I forgot people who were running also got a vote.
Yeah,
Um,
and I mean, you can't blame anyone for voting for themselves. So,
well, they can't vote for themselves, yeah. So it's still interesting to see how seriously people take it because people who don't want it at all won't run. People
yeah,
who nominate themselves and try hard or don't try hard subjectively, however you think of that. What's
yeah.
their reasoning there? There's a lot of information to be gained just from that simple decision of saying I'll run or I won't run. And again, in Virus, and I mean I'm jumping ahead, but like he likes
Oh,
those interesting dynamics of like who's going to show their cards, and when it comes time to actually choose, it's almost like an eviction vote in a way
yeah.
to say you can't be HOH or I will let you continue in the running to be HOH.
But it's a lot
I
more
think it's a
public
perfect
than an
time.
eviction vote.
It's a perfect time for this to be happening. So
Yeah. Big Brother Virus is actually my absolute favorite of all of the games that I have seen.
we put a
I
lot
know,
of work
like,
into
I,
it.
I remember Andrew was worried about it last season because of the fact that like COVID was new. And he's
Mhm.
like, I swear this existed before COVID.
We
It's
knew, we
not in
knew.
bad taste.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love it because I do think that, how do I say this? It does show your hand,
hmm
but you can be really strategic about it.
hmm
Um, like I remember you had those little gems that you were moving around to see how people would. And
Like I
like,
said, I took notes. I'm systematic. I will mitigate loss or benefit. Oh yeah, I'm super that
and I
way.
had it
And
on a little PowerPoint. I think Megan had like a bulletin board that she was like had pins for people. Like she and I, when we started, had I think about 1,000 different outcomes where we were trying to get either you or Curtis to win.
right.
And I mean, I was the first person infected, so we were
But
making
that
moves
was our
really early.
decision. But that was our decision because
No, Ashley infected me because the mole
Ashley
infected
chose
me.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, yeah.
And
Okay.
then
Right. Right.
Yeah, and then I chose Megan. But I mean, we went through like Megan and I went through so many, and we brought you in on quite a few, like so
Oh
many
yeah.
scenarios where we're like, it has to be like it has to stay on our side of the house to begin with. And we need Nick and Curtis to make it to the end because they're the most likable of the people that we're working with. Like, like I remember us thinking that through. So I mean, I suppose you said we weren't really supposed to talk about this HOH, but it's my favorite one, and I was excited. It's fresh in my mind.
We're not talking about cheesecake or like see all stars. We're talking about just
Also,
the
yeah.
competition in
But so
general.
that was why, like when Andrew, like when this video came out of of this season, I was just like, yes, like I'm
Mhm.
so excited to see what people do. And not because I think that it'll tell me anything, but because I know it'll get the conversations going in the house for
Yeah, I
sure.
will fully agree. It's kind of like I I wasn't nominated at that point. I had won some comps. I got no blowback from any of it. I had no one that I thought was really coming after me. But then in this competition, talking to you, but like, okay, who do we target? Okay, I know I'm safe here. Oh, well, I knew Jack was gonna take me out, and I'm like, people like. It was very much like if they were voting for you to stay in the game or not. Like it's a game within a game for the HOH,
Yeah.
but it was still very much like everyone was campaigning to not get evicted in this moment. So it's like it definitely puts people on their toes, and I can't wait to hear how this one played out and all the intricacies. I hope we get some more details about that, but it's definitely a great timing based off what happened last week, what happened this week, and what's to
Yeah.
come. It was the perfect competition for how like to help dictate the rest of the season because it's big.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And I think that because there's been so much chatter around who the alliances are, like it's not nearly as quiet as it was about who is aligned as
Hmm.
it was in previous seasons. So um
And
yeah, so
whether they're
I'm
right or
curious
not,
to
they're
see.
whether people are right or not with their assumptions about who's working together or not, they're still just like they're voicing them, which is really fun to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so actually, so speaking of alliances, Andrew's now mentioned twice since Christmas about a new alliance. I don't know if those are two new alliances or one, but that got like that perked my ears right up because I was
That
just
would
like, we
freak
don't get
me
to,
out because
we don't know who it is.
if I didn't well okay, as a viewer, yes. I'm thinking as a player, if I didn't know who made this alliance and I'm not in a new alliance, I would immediately start being very scared about things going on in the house that I'm not aware of because information is power. And
Yeah.
especially in a competition like Virus, where it's all about who you're working with, yeah, it's huge. So
But it could also
maybe
be a
tides are turning.
it could be a fake alliance too.
Oh, easily. How
Like
many of
we don't
those
know
happen?
anything.
What was
So
musical
like,
chairs, but if not a fake alliance? Like
okay, musical chairs. Who was it? I think was it Dylan who started that conversation this season of like you shouldn't invite people into a chat without like first asking them.
I
Like I
agree.
got dumped into that chat and I was like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yep.
I don't think it was intended to be a fake alliance, but
I think it was to
I
keep
don't know.
tabs
Maybe,
on people. Again,
yeah,
it was one of Ryan's chats to keep tabs on people and to kind of like keep people honest in a way and maybe also show I think that was Ryan's he thought me, you and Ashley were really close. So he wanted one of us three and him and Kat to show like, hey, we're two for your side. And me, you and Ashley weren't working together. I think that was me and you were, but not with Ashley. I think that was his misjudgment on the game. But either way,
yeah.
that alliance came out, and then it was blown up, and it was just like I scrolled back in a panic. I looked through it, and I'm like, "Yep, stayed out of that conversation." Oh, chimed in with a haha there. Yep, okay, I'm good. Like I knew it was a time bomb, and yeah, I
Yeah,
kept
but we
myself
also
out of
didn't
that.
actually say anything in that chat. It was like we got Jack out in that chat.
Well, the
Um,
name of it came from us saying we're just gonna have a musical like who doesn't matter who sits on the block as long as it's not us and yeah let's go to
yeah.
the end. It was like a harmless like yeah let's just all stay together like anyone would say. So that was basically it.
But yeah,
Oh.
so that was. Oh, there's
Oh,
another
we got a
message.
question. If
If
there's an
there's a
alliance, what is the
line,
best move for someone not in the alliance? And if you are in an alliance, how do you get Andrew not to talk about it? I was
don't
in,
tell Andrew.
so this is what I'm
That's
saying. I was in an alliance and I was in one main alliance, and I thought no one knew about it because we all talked about how no one was going to talk about it. Curtis and Brenda were talking about it. Marson and I weren't. And then other groups found out, and then Andrew found out through them. And it was just like, I felt so exposed where I was like, I'm behind. I'm in this alliance. I was even worried.
so.
I'm like, what's Lindsay going to think when she finds about this alliance I'm in? And everyone knew. And it's,
No, I didn't know. I mean,
go
we
ahead.
joked with you at the end. I
Agree.
didn't know. I found out the night that Ryan was going to be evicted. when
Yeah.
like that decision was made, um, you had sent me the message last, which meant that I read it first. But
Oh, that boded well for
I
me then,
think
I
like
guess.
because you were right at the top, right? But I
Yeah.
think like three people sent me messages about that alliance. But I didn't know that that was the alliance that Andrew was talking about. Like, there's one more alliance that nobody's like, no one's aware of, and
Oh no, no.
but yeah,
He was
that's how
talking
you.
about when Andrew was referencing the alliances of season four. MNBC was one of them, and in my head, I'm
Yeah,
like, he has no idea. My alliance would never say anything, and I was so like, because I'm that loyal and that tight-lipped, I didn't think they would be that. I thought they would be the exact same because we promised and discussed that. So that's why it was it was easy for me, unfortunately, to cut Curtis because I explained it to him transparently. I was like, you did me dirty and I just bit my lip
yeah.
until I knew I could get you kind of thing. But
But that's definitely the best way to keep Andrew out of alliances and talking about alliances is don't tell him.
if you like to answer Phil's question, I think if you hear that alliances is going on, assume it's fake. Assume you will know when you need to know, and assume it's one of the maybe 50 that get made in a season. But trust your allies and trust that they will fill you in if they are in on it. Either way, you really don't want to be aligned with 9 people because that's how you get evicted. So if you
And
are
keep being
loosely aligned
friendly.
with if you're loosely aligned with 8, but you are ride or die with 3 or 2 or 4 of them or whatever the number might be, just trust those 4. Anyone can make an alliance. Don't be so scared of it until people win power and decisions are made and adapt as you go. But
we
yeah, never
we
tell
had
Andrew in the
about
diary room. I didn't tell Andrew anything because I was so scared. I assumed he would talk about it, and he does.
yeah, we had about 4 or 5 different like women's alliances.
Which
Um
you told me of all of them. Thank you.
like the second they were made, yes.
I know.
Um but like they never meant anything. Like a lot of alliances are made for keeping tabs or
Yeah.
for saving face or desperation.
Or to chat where you would be like, I haven't talked to them all season. Great. An alliance is a great way to like have a
Yeah.
third party say, I really trust you. I really trust you. You guys should get together. That's
Yeah.
I always had a good connection with Brazil, for example, but that's how Brazil and I really got together is because I trusted a lot of our mutual allies and it worked out, you being the main one.
I was
So
just about to say, or you could be afraid of it because if we didn't get Brazil on side, then I don't think you and I would have made it as far as we did because people were coming after us.
and agree
Um,
I'll agree with you because I didn't know they might have been, but I think that we were paired up as a Ryan Cat kind of thing where it could be dangerous. And I had won things before
yeah.
then and you were starting to win. And I think that it was just a natural, but I think that speaks to it was our natural social connection that just played out well for us. But either way, we're talking too much about our season.
Yes, sorry.
I like this
Okay.
season is going great. I think this week is going to be exciting. I can't wait to find out more about it. And yeah, and this will go out to Ryra as well. I know you express your opinions. I respect them. But if you do ever want to come on and chat with us about your week or about anything, I would like to, I'm sure Lindsay too, we would like to chat
Yeah.
with everyone from this season because we care about this show and we've been a part of it. And the All Stars is just a really cool experience. And if you want to come and chat with us, uh, in this kind of platform, let us know and we're open for it.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, other than those 2 new alliances and then the HOH comp, that's the end of anything that I have written down. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's more
so
so
we'll,
this coming week stuff, which
yeah,
we will
so we
talk
will
about
leave
with.
HOH until next week.
We'll talk about one sad evictee after another. We're we're the Grim Reapers of Big Brother experiences. Uh,
And yeah, I mean, that's all I've got. So if you want to sign us out.
yeah, thank you everyone for watching this far. This is our longest video. I think a very exciting week slash alcohol helped us get here. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're over an hour. Or either way,
Oop.
like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Let us know anything you want us to talk about. I love seeing the interacting like comments happening as we're filming as well. And we look forward to talking to you again next week.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.